Manchester United 2, Borussia Dortmund 3, and United's pre-season tour of the USA ends in back-to-back consecutive defeats. Obviously, we lost against Wrexham. That was more United's youngsters, but certainly defeat against Real Madrid and now defeat against Borussia Dortmund in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. And this one stings, I think, even more than the Real Madrid one. I think the Madrid one, after the game, I said that I found that it was quite a disappointing performance, and I got quite heavily criticised by that by some, saying, it's just pre-season, there were positives, and there were some positives to take out of that. And obviously, look, again, it is pre-season, so you don't want to get too carried away or anything like that, and you'd much rather poor performances or mistakes happen in pre-season. That's what it's for. It's about getting minutes under the belt, and it's about getting your legs about you and gelling players together, etc., etc. And I understand that. But this one will be particularly frustrating because my biggest frustration coming out of the Real Madrid game was that we were sloppy on the ball at points and there were individual errors, particularly when you looked at certain aspects of the build-up play and, again, certain elements when we were playing, good passes together and then sloppy final pass, or playing around from the back line and then there would be a silly point where we'd give the ball away, and Real Madrid was so good in transition that we were just asking for trouble. And you look at today's game, and the first half, it wasn't the strong side that had started the last couple of games. It was almost the reverse of it. The same way that against Real Madrid, we played the strong side. They played 60 minutes, and then the sort of backup players came on for 30 minutes towards the end. It was the opposite of that today. It was the backup players playing 60 minutes, and then the first starters, the first teamers, or the proper starting players coming on for the last 30 minutes. And in the beginning of the game, for 40 minutes or so, we were by far the better team. And we played some really good stuff. I think Sancho was the best player on the pitch. I think it's the best game I've seen him have for Man United for a really long time. False 9, I thought he was sensational in the first half. I thought his build-up play was excellent. He was dropping deep. He was linking up with Christian Eriksen and Donny van der Beek. And he was on the left. He was on the right. And he looked so sharp. And I think that's a real positive to take away from the game, is that Sancho in the false 9, I think, is working. And I think there's something there. And obviously, we've just about to sign Rasmus Højlund. So he's not going to be the first option there. But I think he is an option in there. So I thought that was really positive. And we score a goal. Diogo Dalot, brilliant goal, uses the Dortmund player to sort of just bend the ball, whip it around him, and goes past the goalkeeper nearly in the top corner of the net. And we were really good value for our lead for about 40 minutes. And then we concede 2 goals in the space of 60 seconds just by being really poor and really sloppy and just bizarre decision making. And again, that sums up United for the last few games. It wasn't just today, but for the last few games is sloppy, poor decisions. The first goal, Adeyemi was the best player for Borussia Dortmund on the pitch. I mean, him and Sancho in that first half, they were the two. They were excellent. And Adeyemi, clearly, I think, is destined for really strong things. He'll leave Dortmund at some point and he'll go somewhere else because he's fantastic. I thought he looked so lively and so energetic and picked up space and so dangerous. But Brandon Williams decides just to fly in for a tackle. That's no need to. Adeyemi's like 50 yards away from goal on United's left-hand side. There's no reason for him to do that. And after he does that, United don't react to it. It bobbles around in the box a bit. It lands to Malin and he scores. And you go, that came out of nowhere. Because we were dominating the game. Dortmund were not threatening at all. And they scored that goal. And then after that, it's just, again, a bizarre decision by Victor Lindelof. Play out from the back. Heaton gives it to Lindelof. He can give it to Brandon Williams. He can give it back to the goalkeeper. He decides to turn and then play it towards Donny van der Beek. But there's clearly a yellow shirt there. And it was just, again, really poor decision. And ultimately leads to a goal. And we go into halftime 2-1 down. Kind of shell-shocked, but it's what... The thing is, it's not about just, the build-up play is great. And in certain parts, it was sharp and we were unlucky and all that kind of stuff. But if you make mistakes and the other team will punish you for you. I mean, this was just a friendly. You make mistakes like that in the Premier League, they'll score every single time. This is against Borussia Dortmund. I wasn't blown away by Borussia Dortmund by any stretch of the imagination. I actually thought at points, wow, they came second in the Bundesliga. They're meant to be the second best in the Bundesliga because it didn't blow you away in terms of, again, their build-up play or their ability to look dangerous, but they were clinical. They were effective. And if you give them opportunities, they take them. And again, you can say, they didn't deserve to be 2-1 up at half-time, but if they take their chances, why don't they? Now, I was hoping that, it's just 2 errors, 60 seconds of madness, we'll react in the second half, and again, it was largely the same, really. It was, our build-up play was good, but we still looked a bit sloppy, and we were still making errors. And it could have been 3-1. It frankly should have been 3-1. Again, just a really sloppy pass, poor pass. And Andre Onana bails us out. I think he went flying up to Harry Maguire, screaming at him, going, "That's shit, that was rubbish," because he saved us. Now, we then equalise. Anthony, he came on for Amari Forson in the first half. Ten Hag put his arm around the youngster, maybe was pointing out to the fact that he got booked or wasn't having the best half, whatever it may be. Anthony scored. It was a typical Anthony goal, really. Again, the ball stays alive in the box. It was actually, I think, Donny van der Beek that kept it alive. And Anthony sort of side foots it into the net. Typical Anthony special, inside on his left foot, guides it in. But when it comes to Anthony, apart from that, he was incredibly frustrating again. It was a typical Anthony performance, which, as I say, is a 1 out of 5 player. Not in terms of a 1 out of 5 rating. I mean, 1 out of every 5 times he might do something that's effective. The other 4 times, it's... he doesn't look like he knows what he's going to do sometimes. It's, I'm surrounded by 3 players. What am I going to do? Run into him? I'm just going to turn back. I'll turn back and pass it to my fullback, or I'll try and cut inside, or I can't, or I'll just be dispossessed. He doesn't look like he knows sometimes what he's going to do, and he's incredibly frustrating to watch, even though he scored the goal. So it's then 2-2, but again, what happens? Poor defensive error, just again sloppiness. The first team has come on. This time it was Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka with a poor pass, they cut it out, they score. And ultimately it's a case of, what do you expect? If you make that amount of mistakes, if you make that amount of individual errors, you're going to be punished for it. And on top of that, United, they made chances in the second half. There was like a 5-minute period where we could have scored 3 goals. Marcus Rashford, ball comes in from Bruno Fernandes from a free kick. Ball gets stuck under his feet. He misses it. Another, like 30 seconds later, Rashford has a shot. Keeper saves it. Anthony open goal, puts it wide. Joe Hugill, I'm not going to put too much pressure on him. He's a youngster. He's played through by Bruno. 1-on-1. Keeper rushes out. Tries to play it under the keeper. Keeper makes a decent save. But you're then dealing with that lethal combination there, aren't you? And it's so basic. But basically what it is build up play, be damned. You can play nice stuff. The link up play can be good. But if you're not clinical, you don't take your chances. And on top of that, you make defensive errors and give gilt-edged opportunities to the opposition, you will lose football matches. And that's why we lost today. We lost today because we gave them, gift-wrapped 3 goals. It could have been more than that. And then on the flip side of it, when we did create opportunities, we weren't clinical enough, even though we scored 2 goals. But we weren't clinical enough. We really weren't. The chances you'd expect us to score, we didn't. It took a really great goal from Anthony and a bit of luck, great goal from Dalot rather, and a bit of luck from Anthony. That's the goals we scored. So I think that will be the eye-opener for Erik ten Hag coming into the season. Again, it's pre-season. You don't want to get too carried away. You're not going to say this player's that, this player's rubbish and all that kind of stuff. I think the biggest concern will be, as I mentioned, that I think Ten Hag thought that when he brought on those players in the second half, he would see this level being raised, and we really didn't. If anything, it kind of got a bit worse. Again, the senior players that came on, or the starter players rather that came on, Wan-Bissaka, one of the worst games I've seen him having in a long time actually for United. Thought he was particularly poor. You got Mason Mount came on, largely didn't really see him do anything. Casemiro still looks like he's trying to get up to pace of pre-season. Anthony, again, despite scoring, it's frustrating Anthony. Bruno Fernandes was kind of ineffective Bruno, even though he makes a chance for Hugill. It was frustrating. Marcus Rashford, again, it's frustrating Rashford, missing chances and not being as effective. So I think that'll be the key thing, won't it? It was just a case of be more clinical. And that's at both ends of the pitch. Be clinical in front of goal, take your chances, but also don't be so sloppy. Don't be so sloppy on the ball. And it's that sloppiness that frustrated me last time against Madrid, and it was even heightened today. And that's a worry. I'm not still going into the season or anything like that. We're going to lose against Wolves or anything like that. But, you make those mistakes in the Premier League. If you're not clinical and you give them chances, you will lose games. No doubt about it. So certainly an eye-opener, I think, for Ten Hag today. And it's a bit bitter to be ending the tour in defeat, but there's still two more pre-season games to go at Old Trafford and Dublin, respectively. So here's hoping we see a reaction from them. But again, disappointing, and hopefully we can bounce back next time.